In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how it is that we pull sand, cut in, and roll the final coats on our projects. I'll also share with you a few tricks that we use to make sure that there's no dried paint that finds itself on that final coat of paint. Hi, my name is Rémi Boudreau. I'm a licensed painter, color consultant, owner of Expressions Painting, and founder of Expressions Painting University. Now let's just get right into it. Here is a video. It's just going to be a one shot. Now I intentionally made this a single shot, not edited, so that you can kind of get a sense of how we progress through the job, how we switch tools, and you'll kind of see the advantage of having that quick release pull that I've talked about in previous videos. So now, as you see, I'm cutting in, and it's the same thing as in the first coat, except at this stage you can probably go a little bit faster. If the cutting in was done, well, the way we're doing it, we basically do the perfect lines at the stage one, and then at the first coat, and then at the second coat, it's more of a, we analyze and check things if there's anything that needs to be tweaked because of some of the illusions that I mentioned. So in some cases, some of the caulking might be a bit heavier depending on who did the caulking, because typically in repaints, it's the result of multiple projects that have been done over the years. It's not the same as, you know, building a house from scratch where everything is new and you have the control of every piece of caulking, every trim. You can, you know, do some prep work really to ensure that you are in control of the 90-degree corners. In repaints, it's not always possible. So there, in some cases, there are some illusions that need to be made here and there. But typically, as you can tell, I'm dipping the brush, and then as I unload, notice that I lay the paint. I'll first typically drop the bottom of the brush, and then I'll come back and I'll wipe the top of the bristles. Now, this is something I discussed in my original YouTube video series I did in 2012. I haven't really mentioned it in the in this video series, but what I'm doing there when I'm wiping the top of the bristles is just making sure that there's no excess paint on top of the bristles. That means that when I'll be working the bristles into the corner, they'll actually really fit nicely in there without adding paint to the corner, to the top of the ceiling, let's say if we're cutting the ceiling, or onto the baseboard if we're doing the baseboard. So removing that excess paint on top of the bristles is great, because then it's the paint that's between the bristles that are going to work their way to the tiny edge of each single bristle, and then be nicely laid into that nice little corner where the bend of the bristle is leading the paint to. So just another tidbit of information that I wanted to kind of share with you. Now, as I get close to the end here of the painting, we're going to be looking at the cutting in. We're going to be looking at one of the tips that we always make sure to do to make sure that the paint does not have time to dry up around the brush or even within the can that we're using for cut-ins or the roller. So essentially, as soon as we stop using the brush, I'm going to be wrapping it in some plastic, nicely tucking in the paintbrush, and then I'm going to squeeze out the excess paint from within the brush and push it away to the edge. This is just to make sure that the middle of the brush doesn't get overly saturated, because if that happens, what ends up happening is that your bristles are going to actually fan out in such a way that the middle of the bristles are gonna kind of leave you like a big hollow area. Now, this is something that I've discussed in a previous video. If you want to look that up, it's called Mastering the Paintbrush. If you want to do a search on my YouTube video, you'll notice that you can find that we talk much deeper about the inner working of a paintbrush. But now notice that just before that I took the tray out, there was actually a liner on top of the tray, keeping the moisture within the tray. So that's the other thing that we do whenever the tray is not in use, so we're not rolling, we put that same liner that we put at the bottom of the tray before we put the paint in to kind of create a dome. And so it just keeps all the humidity inside there, which prevents the paint inside there from drying. Now, having said that, this works great for during the progress of a job during the day, but at the end of the day, what we typically do is we tuck in a larger piece of plastic tightly into the tray, covering everything nice and making sure that the paint has no chance of drying, so that overnight it won't dry, and when we come back the next morning we remove that layer of plastic and everything is still nice and workable, nothing's dried up, right? So if you've ever tried painting and then you kind of get to those chunks, it can be really frustrating, because then you always have to pick away those little chunks on the paint as you're rolling, and it really doesn't do a final good job. So this is the kind of thing that you manage as you progress to make sure that it reduces the frustrations as you go along, and then the final result when we're rolling this final coat is a nice smooth finish with no little dried paint chunks in it, right? So notice here, when I'm rolling, personally, it's my right arm that's holding the handle, and then my left arm is kind of guiding the roller. Now, when I was younger, I was just kind of always doing the same side, no worries. But as you get older, you know, I've been doing this for a while now, I'm 47 years old now, notice that I'm actually switching side here as I reach the left side of the wall. This is to just minimize always working the same muscle, the same side of the body. It just balances things out a little bit better for me, I've noticed. And it's a great skill to have, to be able to roll on either side. And in fact, it's also a great skill to be able to cut in on either side as well, especially if you're working in some ladders or things like that. And there you go. So this is sanding, cutting in, and rolling in about 7 minutes. And hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of the pace that it would take us to actually roll or cut in and roll an entire room, which in this case took me about 28 minutes. But to be fair, this is a ceiling where the walls are a bit lower, so if I have to use a step, we're probably adding maybe a few more minutes there. But between 30 to 40 minutes is typically what it's going to take us to cut in and roll, or in this case as well, sand, because the sanding really goes fast, right? So sanding, cutting, and rolling, typically 30 to 40 minutes for like a standard bedroom. So hopefully you got value in this video. I want to thank you for watching. And in next week's video, we're going to look at how we paint doors and also share the final reveal.